The only thing is that we don't have to go under completely. We don't have to wait for that moment. Let's change and let's go and be more open and go back to this kind of like a big tent idea of Ronald Reagan. And I think this is why we have helped it to some extent here in California with the, getting rid of gerrymandering and to do redistricting reform and to have open primaries.
Independents are about to overtake Republicans in California. What can California do differently?
I think independents are going to take over the Republicans, they're going to take over the Democrats also.
Arnold Schwarzenegger just terminated Trump's lies, and it's more epic than any action movie. The former Governator flexed his political muscles, leaving the ex-prez looking like a deflated balloon animal at a kid's party. But here's the real shocker. Arnie's takedown is so savage, it's got more views than cat videos. Is this the plot twist America's been waiting for? Stick around to see how the Terminator just became democracy's new BFF. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Remember when Arnold was just a muscle-bound action hero? Well, folks, those days are long gone. Our favorite Austrian oak has traded in his leather jacket for a political blazer, and he's using those biceps to punch holes in Trump's ego. Talk about a career change.
As an immigrant to this country, I would like to say a few words to my fellow Americans. President Trump sought to overturn the results of an election, and of a fair election. President Trump is a failed leader. He will go down in history as the worst president ever. The good thing is that he soon will be as irrelevant as an old tweet. Very aware of Kristallnacht, or the Night of Broken Glass. It was a night of rampage against the Jews carried out in 1938 at the Nazi equivalent of the Proud Boys.
Now, Arnold's journey from Terminator to Trump Terminator wasn't exactly smooth sailing. He went from flexing on screen to flexing his political muscles as the governor of California. But let's be real, governing isn't quite as simple as saying I'll be back and blowing stuff up. Arnold had to learn the hard way that politics is a whole different kind of action movie. Here's where it gets juicy. Arnold and Trump used to be buddies. Yeah, you heard that right. They were like two peas in a pod if peas were orange and had ridiculous hair, but something changed. Maybe Trump forgot to spot Arnold at the gym, or perhaps he borrowed Arnold's favorite Make America Lift Again tank top and never returned it. Whatever it was, their bromance went sour faster than milk left out in the California sun. As time went on, Arnold's political views started to evolve. It was like watching the Terminator grow a conscience in real time. He went from being a Republican governor to an anti-Trump crusader. Talk about a plot twist. It's as if Arnold looked at the Republican Party and said, your clothes, your boots, and your moral compass, give them to me.
And they hired a big movie star, Arnold Schwarzenegger, to take my place. And we know how that turned out. The ratings went right down the tubes. It's been a total disaster.
Arnold, I have a great idea. Why don't we switch jobs? You take over TV because you're such an expert in ratings, and I take over your job. And then people can finally sleep comfortably again. So being from Europe, I have seen firsthand how things can spin out of control. I know there is a fear in this country and all over the world that something like this could happen right here.
But the real turning point came with the Capitol riot. When Arnold saw what was happening, he probably wished he could travel back in time to prevent it, Terminator style. Instead, he decided it was time to say, "Hasta la vista, Trump," and take a stand. The anticipation for Arnold's response was higher than Trump's tower. People were refreshing their social media feeds faster than Trump could hit send on a 3 a.m. tweet. And then bam, Arnold dropped his video bomb, comparing the Capitol riot to Kristallnacht. It was like he'd fired a verbal shotgun right at Trump's alternative facts. Arnold's video spread faster than fake tan at a MAGA rally. It went more viral than a cat video during a pandemic. Suddenly everyone was watching Arnold, the political action hero, standing up for democracy and calling out the lies. It was like watching a real-life movie unfold, except the stakes were way higher than any Hollywood production. It looks like Arnold's not just flexing his muscles these days, but his political opinions too.
You famously said that the Republican Party has a problem at the box office. I heard you equate the GOP with the Titanic. Explain.
The reason why I said it was because their policies were such that they were not really including everybody. And we were losing them because we were not addressing those issues. So I was telling them, I said, look, the way you're going, by being so anti, healthcare reform and being so anti-environment and stuff like this, we are losing and we are dying at the box office.
The Terminator's latest viral video is packing more heat than his old rocket launcher, and it's got Trump's camp squirming like a bunch of villains facing off against Dutch and Predator. So what's got Arnie all fired up? Well, turns out the Austrian Oak's got some personal beef with lies and Nazi propaganda. In his video, he spills the beans about his dad's involvement with the Nazi party, and let me tell you, it ain't pretty. Arnold's not pulling any punches when he says, "I know where such lies lead, and I'm not going to let that happen again."
His trip this year to Auschwitz, which was the first time he'd been there. Remember, his father was a Nazi. And he talked about anti-Semitism. We talked about a feud he had in the 90s with Sylvester Stallone. There's a lot there.
Feels like it's close enough to Friday already.
Yeah,
After the week
who knows what day it is.
I know.
Yeah.
All right.
It's working. There's our promo coming up Friday night at 10:30. Hope people can watch.
Absolutely. All right.
And so all of that is coming up tomorrow night on The Issue Is at 10:30, or Friday night at 10:30 on The Issue Is.
Talk about a plot twist. Who knew the guy who once said, "It's not a tumor," would become America's tumor detector? This video spread faster than Trump's spray tan in a rainstorm. It was like watching the T-1000 morph into a political commentator, shape-shifting its way through every social media platform. Suddenly, everyone and their grandmother was sharing Arnold's message, probably because it hit harder than a Schwarzenegger punchline. But you know Trump wasn't gonna let that slide. The Donald fired back with some zingers about Arnold's ratings on Celebrity Apprentice. Really, Donald? That's like bringing a spoon to a knife fight. It's almost cute how Trump thinks TV ratings matter more than, democracy. Meanwhile, the internet was having a field day. Memes and GIFs of Arnold's movie quotes were popping up faster than Trump's lies at a press conference. Hasta la vista, democracy, and I'll be back to save America were probably trending harder than the coffee ever did. This whole thing's turned into a never-ending political arm wrestling match, with democracy as the prize. It's like watching Conan the Barbarian take on a really angry Cheeto. Who's gonna win? Well, that depends on whether America prefers its heroes to be muscle-bound action stars or reality TV hosts with questionable hair. Well, folks, it looks like Arnold's not the only celeb flexing their political muscles these days. The Trumpinator versus Schwarzenegger showdown has opened the floodgates for more stars to jump into the political ring. Who knew Hollywood was secretly training an army of democracy defenders? Analysts are saying these celebrity interventions are like steroids for public opinion. They're pumping up political discourse faster than you can say, "I'll be back." But here's the million-dollar question. Is Arnold the only one with biceps big enough to arm wrestle political figures? Or will we see a whole squad of celebs bench pressing democracy? One thing's for sure. In this battle of Arnold versus Trump, we're all sitting back, munching on popcorn, and waiting for the next plot twist. Will it be a happy ending for democracy? Or are we in for a real-life disaster movie? Stay tuned, America.